tell you Hello everyone and welcome to another fun night of Thursday League of Legends here on the Unified live stream. My name's Mac Dewey. Joining me here for a winner's semi-final matchup is my main man Tenric. I like the background you got over there, man. You're already ready to go.
Yeah, thank you. My room may be under renovation, but the Rift is always ready for teams to enter it. And Mac, we got two teams that are chomping at the bit. Team Ambition Black taking on Team Ambition Stratus. A civil war between the champion and a fellow faction should be an exciting time.
Let's take a quick look at the rosters here. Tenric, on the side of Team Ambition Black, we've got returning champions here. Mark Boots and Castle, the duo on the left to watch. And on the right, as you mentioned, the civil war here, Team Ambition Stratus. I think we got to keep our eyes out for the Madman Spencer up in the top lane. He's got a crazy set, a crazy Urgot. I think it should lead to a lot of spice here in the Rift.
I think top and jungle are going to be the places we need to look at the most. Jungle in particular, Castle and Damon have two of the best carry potentials I've ever seen in the UAL, but so do BMD and Spencer. I mean, all 4 of those players have been known throughout this entire league so far to ravage the competition, grab a solid lead on an island, and then carry it to team fights. Massive stuff coming through, but as always, these teams have to do more than anything adapt, as once again, Mac, we're playing on a live patch that's only 2 days fresh, which means these teams are going to be playing with Zeri nerfs, Yuumi nerfs, Alistar buffs, Sivir nerfs, Teemo buffs, I want to say, but a lot of changes coming through, including the dragons becoming a little bit weaker, the second Rift Herald getting a little bit stronger. I mean, the flow may be entirely shifted today.
Yeah, I think you bring up a lot of good points. On top of those nerfs, Seraphine nerfs as well.
Nerfs.
Oh my goodness. I tell you, we'd have a lot more assault on the cast, or I guess praise at this point, because Billabang, the past few weeks here on cast, has been waiting for this day for the Seraphine nerfs to come through. So if he's watching there, I'm happy for him for those nerfs to finally come through. But I totally agree. I mean, Neela's also enabled, so we may see her in the bot lane. I think that meta is super, super interesting. Here's a quick rundown of the patch. Some runes also changed. Pretty much, I think, after the durability update, Tenric, we've kind of had a more, let's say, friendly early game, as everyone's been a little bit more tanky and not as easy to kill early on.
Yeah, it's been very neutral when it comes to lanes early on. We've seen a very big duality. Either there's a 5-man invasion going on in bottom lane, or there's 5 people stuck in river on both sides just waiting for the lanes to sort of warm up. There is no in-between. There is no 3-man invasion going on at level 2. There is only lane phasing and jungling, and hopefully that's dying down a little bit more. Hopefully we see some more creativity with everything about League of Legends sort of shifting to what Riot has sort of set the standard of with that durability patch. I think we're finally kind of getting those last bits and pieces in place to make sure that it goes off without a hitch and the next big thing can come along. Because I mean, there really were a lot of fixes. In particular, this patch is like scraps compared to the previous one, where there were like there was hotfix on top of hotfix on top of hotfix. But then again, that tends to come with a new champion releasing, and Neela at this stage is gonna raise a lot of questions instead of just being the most busted character in the entire game.
And especially we're thinking about how these teams are going to be adapting to a new patch. They also kind of have to adapt to each other. So I wonder, honestly, how much scrim time these guys have gotten together, if they're going to have to pull out some secret strats here, as we're going to get ready to hop into draft here for game number 1. It's a best of 3 series here in the winners semifinals matchup. Again, the loser will be sent down into the lower bracket, while the winner heads on into winners finals.
It's a lot of stakes, considering the fact that every other team outside of this has been sort of in that upper echelon of the standings as well. I mean, even after you win this, you have a really tough matchup ahead of you, whoever wins between Longhorn and Zenigma Darkstars, 2 absolute powerhouses throughout the scene. But if you fall, you have to go up against people who may be from your own division. Meme City on the verge of getting through to the next round of losers. So is Tempest Gaming Vipers. So is Crossroads, the top seed from the division that Stratus was on. And so many threats lie in the rest of this bracket, and getting this extra win would be such a gigantic boost to either of these teams. And again, we can't stress enough how much this means to either of these teams, because Team Ambition Black, a returning champion of the UAL, definitely the poster child of it. Meanwhile, Team Ambition Stratus slowly making their way through, arguably in the more difficult division, as more of their teams from their division have made it through more of the bracket than Black's did. That being said, Black's dominance can never be denied, but despite that, they still have some fear of their brothers across the way, because Urgot is the first ban from TAB. Mac, you were talking about this from the second we hopped on.
Get it out of here. You can't. It's too big of a risk, Tenric. You can't let him have it. And Spencer, I mean, he's had just some absurd games on the champion as well as Set, so I wonder here, Team Ambition, do they really just go after the big man up in the top lane, or are they going to have to pull out some other stops? We see Stratus taking away Castle's pick kind of flavor of the last few weeks. Been playing a lot of Lilia, and it's been looking super good into, I think, some of the meta picks that have come in. She's been super nice, and I think just kind of an interesting champion to want to take away. But hey, let's see what else Black have up their sleeves. Get them off comfort and see kind of how this first draft goes. As Senna taken off of the board next by Team Black, who finished first in the Infernal Division, finding themselves here hungry to add another championship banner.
This is definitely a fun crossroads that these teams see, because there's no doubt they've talked to each other a lot, played against each other a whole lot. Their ranks are quite similar. There's two masters and a grandmaster on each side, so it's very similar stuff, and so it's fun to see sort of a cross between banning the comfort picks and also banning what's meta, because when it comes to jungling in particular, I mean, there's a pretty set crowd at the moment, despite the fact that the meta has changed maybe a tiny bit. There are those set amount of champions, and so there are these moments where either of these teams are like, oh, I want to get rid of you, but also there are these picks that we're seeing out of the gate as Spencer's immediately going to knock in that Neela, as neither team was able to get that ban in. But again, yeah, you had the Poppy on top of the Urgot ban coming from Ambition Black, so that you know for a fact that Spencer is definitely the biggest threat at the moment for them. Meanwhile, the double jungle ban for Olaf and Lilia on the side of Stratus, knowing that Castle is also such a looming threat. It's really funny watching these teams both try and get rid of any carry potential when a new one is just going to sprout out of its place.
There's too many champions, Tenric. How do we get rid of them all? Oh, goodness. And I think fair enough for Stratus trying to kind of limit Castle's champion pool in the jungle, as he's known to kind of just take over games from impacting each and every single lane. Not to mention, you've got Mark Boots in the mid lane with just an absolute champion Ocean, so tough to ban him out, as Renata is going to be picked up for Turk.
I think this is a solid pick. Despite her nerfs, she's still very prevalent in the metagame and has a lot of spacing that you can do. Turk doesn't exactly rise up a whole lot, so the most that you can do is try and survive and make sure that All For One can escape a lot of these initial fights unscathed, and that's going to involve a lot of the boxing out that Renata is able to do. I like the Talia pick as well from BMT. I think Mark Boots is going to have the time of his life with that. The J4 coming out from Damon, recently buffed. We both talked about this, really didn't think he needed it all that much. Cataclysm, in my opinion, is one of the best ultimates in the game right now. And just, you know, a complete shift to the fight. I am not entirely surprised that he was banned first, because it appears Ambition Black has their sights set somewhere else. But, I mean, Damon's going to run wild, and Castle, well, you don't have to blind pick anymore, but you should probably get something quickly, because I got a feeling Stratus is not done banning junglers.
Oh my gosh! The Stratus Spice Taric for win trading! This is, I mean, good thing we talked about this new patch coming into this draft, because 12-14 is delivering on the craziness. It's Neela's first week of availability here in the UAL, and she's making a big splash here in the semifinal matchup.
Certainly is. Darius going to be that final pick for Team Ambition Black as we head to Phase 2 of the bans. You got a jungle and a bot laner left for Black. You have a mid and a top laner left for Stratus here. Man, top picking now against BMD. I think Spencer's actually going to live it up here. Granted, I think Black may target top for bans first, as we're seeing Aatrox banned first, and Silas also taken out by Stratus. It's so funny watching some of these picks just come out of nowhere, but really, it's at this point where the pool in League, especially between teams of this stature, is so absolutely enormous that sometimes I'm not going to have a proper explanation for why a team is going to ban something other than it's a solid champion, probably in the hands of someone like Mark Boots.
Yeah, Silas, a Mark Boots staple, as the Galio going to be taken away. You don't, I mean, Black trying to limit the synergy that Stratus is kind of picking themselves into. I mean, they're kind of mixing together in their draft stew. I'm getting whiffs of a bit of a wombo combo, and Galio just so good with the J4 pick. I mean, Cataclysm, point and click, bam, boom, you're locking people up. And then with the Galio heroic entrance on top of that, on already what is Talia and Renata with no mobility whatsoever, unable to get out of the Cataclysm potentially. Galio, really smart ban, is all for one. Thinking about this pick, probably going to be an ADC to give some sort of solo lane counter pick option as the Vayne going into the Mila. Here's some spice here. Oh my goodness.
Right. Yeah, you have it fully locked in, and it looks like Black is going to try and box out their opponents until they can fully get the damage available to team fight. Until then, they got to avoid so much CC and denial coming from Stratus. This isn't going to be an unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. This is just going to be two immovable objects going boom, 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 for the first like 20 minutes of the game. And then we'll start team fighting with all the damage that champions like the Nico and the J4 and the Renata and the Vayne are going to be able to rack up. But until then, we might be here for a while, guys.
Buckle in, strap up. It is a best-of-3 series that may be going the distance. Spencer going for that comfort Mord pick. This is the ace up the sleeve here a little bit. Going into the Darius, I think will be interesting. BMD, I'm so excited to see how he does. And the Lee Sin for Castle in the jungle. Talia will be going into the mid lane. I was kind of thinking, I was wondering, where's that Talia gonna go? Are we gonna see a mid lock?
It's 100% going mid. There's no way Castle is gonna run on Talia when picks like Lee Sin are still out there in the jungle. I am kind of amazed actually that everyone neglected to ban the Lee Sin, because Castle is an absolute beast on this guy. So consistent on this jungler in particular, and I can't wait to see how he does. It is gonna be a bit of a do-si-do with Damon, at least for those first 10 to 15 minutes. Hopefully their paths don't cross, because otherwise things could get a little too spicy for either of these teams to handle it first. Honestly, I think both sides are happy just staying out of each other's way, but, you know, doing it a little bit faster than the other side.
Right. I do also want to bring up, we talked about at the start how eyes have to be, Tenric, you talked about the jungle, but I also want to kind of mention here, Mark Boots on this Talia pick, they banned away the Galio. Stratus does not have a mid laner here. Jinquill on this Nico is going to have a tough time following roams that Mark Boots, we know, loves to make either to the top side of the map or down bot. So, I mean, even with the Vayne, Renata, Neela, Tarek, it may be going up into the top lane.
Yeah, I feel like we may need to see a lot of rotation coming in early from top down to mid. In fact, we may even end up seeing something like a 1-3-1 come out pretty early on, with Tarek especially being able to rotate so frequently, and that ultimate as well. Of course, such a godsend both early and later on in the game. My god, such a stupid ultimate. I love it. It's great. But either way, I'm very interested. I'm glad you pointed that out, the Nico. I'm glad you pointed that out, because Stratus is definitely going to have their work cut out for them on movement specifically. But I suppose that the Nico pick is more to just get that extra bit of invasion in on Team Ambition Black, because again, that's what Team Ambition Black is trying to play for, to just stay out of their way until they ramp up enough damage to absolutely demolish the opponents. But until then, they gotta focus on their wave clears, they gotta focus on their creeps, they gotta focus on everything outside of getting rid of the opponents, and champions like Nico and J4 and Neela, they are going to be instrumental in making that a nightmare for Black.
Stratus, the second seed out of the Cloud Division, hoping to maybe get an upset on a friendly team here. I think we've got a really interesting match as, ladies and gentlemen, Summoners, welcome onto the Rift for game number 1. Between Ambition Stratus and Ambition Black. Here we go. The champions trying to reclaim the banner in the up-and-coming squad, hoping to make some noise.
Always feels super good to get back on the Rift here. Again, you got to remember, whoever wins this gets a solid week-long break until their winners finals. They won't have to play nearly as many games, and that would be a big jump for either of these teams, because again, that losers bracket is riddled with so much crazy good competition. So everybody's really got to play on their toes here, not just for this game, but for the remainder of the bracket, really.
Hey, Tenric, have you ever seen Ghost Exhaust Lethal Tempo Darius up in the top lane?
Oh, no. You know, I haven't. Huh.
He's looking to run him down! Oh my goodness. This is
I
like
guess
the
so.
biggest Chad Darius. This is like solo queue Darius. I love it. Because this
That's
is how you have to
this is
play with
BM
Darius.
Darius.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
BM mid-game Darius.
Exactly. He's ready. He's already looking. He's like, I'm not, like, early game doesn't matter. I don't need Ignite or anything. I just need to run down Neela. And that's I think all that's going to be going through his mind later on.
I think that's genius. I think that's a genius plan. Just run him over instead of, autoing and hoping you're catching up. Getting that double boost in speed, half by nerfing your opponent. That feels so much fun to actually connect. Oh, I can't wait to see if Sam is able to actually get that done. BMD, rather. But, again, yeah, we're just starting out with this lane spacing. Everybody is getting their vision together. I'm a little surprised, or not surprised yet, but I would be surprised if Mark Boots didn't engage really prematurely here to make sure that Nico's roaming game is absolutely terrible. Because that is going to cut the Summoner's Rift directly in half and give Ambition Black so much more space to do exactly what they want to do.
Meanwhile, we saw in the bot lane that Neela passive come up, giving bonus experience. I think also just because they had a big wave advantage, but also because of the experience passive. They were able to get level 2 first, but they ended up ending up on the wrong side of the trade there as Buff ADC, thank you very much, aka Yetsuo, is feeling a little hurt after that one, and with potion nerfs hitting this patch as well, the early game is going to be a little less forgiving.
It's definitely exciting to watch everybody from these teams, kind of hop right into things rather than take their time before all the waves come crashing in. The river presence was a lot faster, I would say, in the beginning of the game. They were there for maybe 7 seconds instead of around 12, and I think that's definitely going to be emblematic of the remainder of this early game, where you see players not necessarily engage more often, but kind of tease the idea that they could engage and get away with it.
BMD, meanwhile, up in the top lane, already has the Cole. he's strapped. We were telling everyone to buckle in. BMD's buckling in with the Cole for later on. This early game may be a little slow, but it's going to be down to the microwave management. We'll have to pay close watch, as you mentioned at the very start, Tenric, how these junglers are going to impact the lanes. That's going to be huge.
I couldn't agree more, yeah. Jarvan and Lee Sin, the Invasion Kings when it comes to jungling, and at the, with Damon and Castle at the reins respectively, expect a lot of damage coming in at very random intervals throughout this point, but also expect a lot of other invasions to be synced along with something like that. You're going to see Damon roaming around bot lane, maybe trying to catch All for One and Turk here, and the second that happens, you're also going to see a slightly stronger push along the top and mid lanes too. Both of these teams, they push in sync along with their junglers at the helm, at least until the roaming phase is done, and we start lane switching, we start team fighting, and we start finding out the winner of game number 1.
Castle has been very patient sitting by the Raptors on the blue side of the map. He hasn't found anything just yet, but he may catch Damon's roaming up, as Mark Boot's going to be spotted, I think, by the brush ward. Damon sniffing some out a little bit. This 2v2 by the mid lane, very interesting, as Black on the bottom side of the map going to be pushing in. Mark Boots catches out the J4 here. Castle connects the Q, flag and drag out of there. Double root connects. Just going to be trading from the invade.
Good amount of space gained, but again, nothing incredibly consequential. Ambition Black has a tiny bit more gold, but they're not really going to be able to use it until they back, which again won't really be for a while. Meanwhile, Ambition Stratus is going to take a step back here and recoup for a second, give that advantage over, and actually this might be a moment for Ambition Black to back up as well. It'll be a quick little bot lane reset, but again, I think that gives the junglers that much more space, and I think Ambition Black is the team that needs to watch themselves a little more often, because the second they move in like this more often, the second they get that brevity, that is the moment that junglers understand that they'll be able to capitalize on it a little more often.
Yeah, the solo lanes throughout this early game looking about even, but Tenric, this Vayne pick, I feel like for Ambition Black is working just how they wanted to. when they kind of envisioned this potential counterpick for the Neela. So far, double CS lead as a big wave crashing in. Buff gonna look for a little bit of an engage, but Turk's got that spacing help to help keep the Neela at bay.
I think it's so great that the bot laners alone kind of answer the question, hey, don't we want a solid AD AP mix? Vayne and Neela, just two absolute domineering bot laners when it comes to just racking up autos so far. And I feel like I feel like the bot laners are going to be the ones to move in first, while junglers and top laners are the ones to watch for who ends up carrying this. The bot lane, in my opinion, is going to be where to watch for the actual fights to really start up here, and we'll see Turk and All For One just cranking out a little bit of damage before this Neela exits stage left for the moment.
It will be interesting to keep note of the Veil usage from Buff ADC on this Neela. I mean, All For One on the Vayne, very auto-attack heavy, a very skill-intensive Veil can maybe block a handful of autos, avoid some Silverbolt stacking. So really hyped that Tenric. I'm just so excited in the semifinals. We get these players on skill, expressive, I want to say, champions where they can show us what they got on such a big stage. Win trading gets that level 6 online. Big Tark ultimate for some invulnerability may help a bit of a trade, but the minions on the side of Black is just too much damage for Stratus to try and trade into.
Yeah, All For One and Turk have a good way to be packed in right now, despite the fact that they're a little bit suffocated. I don't think anything's going to work right now, and I doubt that Tarek is going to use his ult up until there are at least 3 members that he's with, or 2 rather, so there is a 3v some amount of ambition Black.
Right.
I don't think Win Training is going to really want to worry about using this. Take a quick pause for a moment, I suppose. We have some sort of technical difficulty or something, but anyways, I do think that Tarek isn't really going to start utilizing that ultimate until maybe the 10 or 12 minute mark, when again we see the junglers get their 6s, get their buffs, and really start engaging and invading. When teams, so one of these teams has to make the decision first. We can't just go straight from lane phasing to team fighting. There has to be that bridge. There has to be that jungler that says, I'm tired of it, I'm ready to start fighting, I'm ready to do it. And one of them is going to do it first. One of them is going to have to follow suit basically immediately after to make sure that the invasion doesn't fully go to plan, because you know for a fact, again, once the junglers push, the rest of the team is going to push on their own separate lanes in sync and try and all gain space separately. The trades might not come into completion, they might not win every single push, but what matters is they are moving that envelope in their favor to some extent in the right portions of the rift. And that first team that may make the decision, they may not come away with the win, but they will have a heavy advantage going into the mid game.
Yep, it's tricky for those junglers to figure out exactly where to go. I think we're looking for this big kind of early game skirmish where one of the junglers plays super aggressively with their flash. Once the ultimates are online, we see Damon's level 6 with the Cataclysm ready to go. That's huge. Castle Flash kick available, potential gank setup is there for both of these teams. Something to watch though, Mark Boots also with his Weaver's Wall available can maybe set Team Ambition Black up for a 4v2 setup, maybe on the bot lane. We'll have to see. Damon's right now focusing down this dragon while Castle is taking the Rift Herald.
Mark Boots has definitely been one to kind of move out of mid lane pretty quickly, but I've seen it primarily done with an Ahri Talia, of course, another champion that really favors that movement, and so I wouldn't be surprised if Mark Boots continued to do that. Like, this is some great zoning out from Ambition Stratus to be able to take that Drake. Again, Turk and All For One, they're used to having to do this. It's going to be Ambition Stratus that make the push, and it's going to be Ambition Black that have to kind of, make that space back again to make sure they don't die and eventually get more damage online, because, in my opinion, Ambition Black does have the better late game composition. It's not by much, but it's better.
Also want to point out, Mark Boots had to burn Flash there. Damon's using the Cataclysm here. Now Castle looking for an invade that we talk about. Here's the Weaver's Wall zoning off Spencer. Jinqual getting knocked up a little bit. Flash away from Castle to get him out of there. Mark Boots with an assist to get him out of the invade.
A lot had to get used there to kind of keep each other alive, but at the same time, it was kind of on both ends. Castle had to burn a flash. Jingle had to, burn an ultimate. There's a lot of resources kind of used up on both sides, and again, it's these teams just testing the waters. Gotta say, though, in the meantime, despite the fact that Ambition Stratus has been grabbing their Drake, getting a little more space, it's Ambition Black that currently has a slight gold advantage and also a slight CS advantage in nearly every single lane, especially that bottom lane, although, to be fair, Tarek is taking a couple more minions there, so that may not be fair. Again, gotta pay attention to these junglers for my money. It's gonna be the J4 and the Lee Sin that go to action first, but one of them has to back before they invade, and there are so many signals that a team could understand that could really mean that the invasion is going to be a whole lot less predictable than that one we may have seen just now.
Yeah, and although the Stratus bot lane is a little bit down in gold, Tenric, they're up big in experience because of Neela. She's got them up, each a level up on the black bot lane, so very interesting to see maybe if they're able to utilize this advantage they've kind of accumulated up here throughout the early game. Castle with the Rift Herald heading down into the bot lane now. The beautiful insect! Oh my goodness! My brain had to process that play a little bit, as there's nothing Wind Trading is able to do to get out of that one. Beautifully done from Castle.
Beautifully drawn out stuff. The second you get somebody out of position, you're going to take advantage of it, and at this point, Ambition Black, they have the damage and they have the personnel to be able to do that for a moment, and no one was really there in time. Damon is there to try and cover up the track to make sure that this is still a 2v2, but with the Rift Herald in hand, yeah, this bot lane is currently under the ownership of Ambition Black.
And what's also really nice for Ambition Black is that All For One gets the kill on this hyper carry Vayne, the one they picked, the one they're hoping Tenric can carry them through the late game that's slowly but surely approaching. But right now, after the Rift Herald usage, 2.5k gold lead for Team Ambition Black.
Big stuff coming through as we enter the 13-minute mark here.
Oh, no flash on Mark Boots. He can't get out of the arena. He's stuck there. Potential kill, though. There's the Dragon Lance connecting. Damon's rewarded for his early setup.
Good Cataclysm to just make sure that that kill was done and dusted, along with that second member also inside. Great positioning, and it's kind of what Ambition Stratus needs to do for a lot of these team fights. They're going to need to pack themselves in and be willing to take a little bit of AoE for a whole lot of connection on anybody that they're actually targeting, which will probably be a bit more man-to-man here. Castle is going to kind of take it from here on the mid lane, at least temporarily, while Mark Boots recovers, which he finally will, but that's a really big amount of space gained in the mid lane, which is where we thought Mark Boots would really be able to shine earlier on here.
Meanwhile, Spencer and BMD, oh my goodness, Tenric, these guys up on the top side of the map have just been farming like bunnies. We've got the Cole almost complete onto BMD's Darius. That's going to be a bit of a gold influx of Phage plus Bomby Cinder. Does that give him Turbo Chem Tank, maybe? Is that how itemization works?
Great question.
Great question. We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, Rift Herald going to be a little ways away, as 5 stacks there for the Darius is going to force the flash out of Spencer. Sam, without even flash, doesn't have to worry about that anymore, as Dragon also spawning up here in about 20 seconds.
The second one, it's a question of, can Ambition Stratus space out Ambition Black again? With this XP gap, it is definitely possible, but at the same time, it's going to be less and less consequential as time goes on here, because All For One and Turk, they are keeping pace to the best of their ability, and so gap is not that huge. Mark Boots, solid amount of damage on a jingle, but it's, again, nothing absolutely crazy. And Ambition Black, actually, they're going to negate the need to get spaced out at all. They're just going to flat out have an entire presence on this Drake to make sure it is 100% theirs.
Watch the Neela buff ADC for Stratus. No completed mythic item yet, but is still ready to go with the ultimate. There's the Spirit Blossom into the backline. Oh my goodness, big ultimate for the Neela. Dragon's getting real low. Castle's gonna dodge out. The invulnerability is pushing Stratus forward. Daemons has sole control of the Dragon, but Castle is going to take the Q in, gonna try to get it. Yes, he does! Castle finds the Dragon, dashes out. See you later, Stratus! As Ambition Black get the objective, and Tenric, I think they're able to disengage their way out of here.
And that was exactly how they needed to handle things. They stalled out the 4 ultimates that were used that fight, particularly the Tarek ult, and then they were able to take what they needed, not engage in the fight because they were already too weak to do so, and then GTFO. That was TAB to AT for this second Dragon that is now definitely equalized things to nearly every single extent. Although, Ambition Black did have to back for a second, so Ambition Stratus, they will get a wave or two on top, but nothing more than that. And meanwhile, this top island, we gotta talk about this because we haven't gotten to very much yet. I gotta say, the Morta versus Darius matchup is one that I think lives rent-free in my head so quickly, because outside of the matchup, these two champions live in my head rent-free, and I can only imagine the kind of invasion game both of these two top laners are going to end up starting to play when perhaps we hit the next dragon, or maybe even when this Baron comes knocking on our door.
Daemon's looking to get this second Rift Herald. It does give 200 local gold now after the change, so gold in the pocket of Stratus, as well as buffs to the second Rift Herald. 75% increased health, so almost double health. This is my first game casting here on 12-14, Tenric, so I'm pumped to see if we notice Shelly putting in those gains a little bit, getting a bit buffer for the second trip on the Rift.
Yeah, Shelly has been putting on a little bit of muscle in the past patch. I'm definitely excited to see how people try and structure fights around that second Rift Herald, and also recognize the importance that a second Rift Herald can have.
Getting so low is not going to be able to get the buyout. Oh, Neela picking up a kill. Buff ADC with 1 kill on the fight now. All for One coming in and trying to clean up the trash in bot lane. There we go. One auto attack after another. Silver Bolt sends him back to base as All for One on the Vayne, sitting at 3-0 after a double kill.
Vayne attack damage, baby. That's all I can say about that. Oh my goodness, that scaling is crazy. All for One single-handedly able to take care of so much. Castle has a lot of work cut out for him after Mark Boots has once again given up so much of his responsibilities to try and save up for the other ones, as Shelly will fall, but so will the first turret all game.
Yo, Shelly, I see the protein shakes coming through a little bit. 10k
Yeah.
HP.
No, she was looking great.
Yeah, oh my goodness. I think it's the deadlifts and the chest that really just the whole body workout there that comes through. Is Stratus trying to work their way into removing some of the gold lead. Now down only about 1.5k is the next dragon. Both of these teams 1 dragon apiece, and with the dragon changes as well as the Rift Herald changes, I wonder if we're going to see more priority placed on these earlier Drakes. Is Wind Trading going to be forced to burn the Flash?
It's going to be Ambition Black that really wants this Drake. Hex Tech works perfectly for Ambition Stratus' gung-ho, damage-heavy early game, but the Ocean Drake and the Wind Drake are going to work perfectly for Ambition Black's strategy of get out while you can until you can int and still win. So I really think that Ambition Black is going to do the same thing they did last time. Zone out River, kill while they can onto Wind Trading. There's the run-in from All for One. Another kill on a rampage. Bot gap be damned. XP share be damned. All for One has started the carry potential.
He has taken over here in game number 1. The Vayne counterpick into the Neela, fresh on the scene. Oh my goodness, Team Ambition Black, they're the champions for a reason. So far, taking just such pristine advantage of small little interactions they get. They know Wind Trading burn the Flash, so let's catch out this Taric while we can. And that's going to set them up beautifully for the Dragon, as Mark Boots is zoning on this Talia. A lot of damage coming out of him right now.
They do have to still stall for another 30 seconds, and so Wind Trading will be able to get back, but he doesn't have a flash now. That is absolutely crucial to how this ultimate is timed in this fight. It might have to be used even earlier than last time, which means Ambition Black might not even have to start engaging the dragon before they wait out this fight and then get River handed over to them. But first, they have to get through the walls, as both top laners have also jumped down to join in on the action.
Everyone except for the supports have the mythic items online. It's looking to be a very even fight around the second dragon, and Stratus have found the engage there, looking for a Castle caught out. Marcus, the kick, saved by Castle. He's going to try to kite his way around, damage by Jinquill, and Daemon's picking up the first 2 kills of the fight. Black were late to the setup. Stratus find their engage, and they're going to win the fight easily.
It was Black that got zoned out this time, Mac. 3 members just run out just because they were chased away, and Castle and Mark Boots just didn't get the memo in time. They were caught with their pants down and also at a complete personnel disadvantage. By that point, Black, it wasn't worth flashing back in. It wasn't worth trying to save your teammates. It was worth trying to trade HP as much as you could. And while Black may have done that to an extent, it's Ambition Stratus that played that perfectly and actually may have played Ambition Stratus's strategy better than they have so far today.
In the strategy that Black have been trying to do here, looking to try to scale in the late game. Well, these mid to late game team fights are here, Tenric. This is part of the roller coaster you start leaning up in your seat for, because things are about to get very interesting as the gold lead once again settles about 1.5K in favor of Team Ambition Black. But right now, Stratus may be down, but they are nowhere near close to being out. In fact, we have Jinquill with an item advantage on this Nico, and it was a big fight for Buff ADC to get some items online. Now Mark Boots does have the ultimate available, but no flash and no way out as he's going to get picked off in the side lane.
This is Stratus cleaning house and, again, playing catch-up for what they had to sacrifice while Ambition Black was able to take space. And they continue to do that kind of passively even while winning these fights, giving up the occasional turret, giving up the occasional trade, but it is Ambition Stratus that have been winning these team fights lately and have been looking super duper solid. Having this win soul would be so effective as well, just giving Ambition Stratus all the speed they need, regardless of cooldowns, to be able to invade Ambition Black, regardless of how much space they're trying to make. Stratus is going to be able to sort of just rush in whenever they want. And again, what Black wanted to do, int and still win.
That's the dream scenario right there, isn't it? Meanwhile,
that's what I want my life to be.
Oh my goodness, the lethal tempo damage coming out of All for One was just absurd. These ADCs are going to be the name of the game for the rest of game number 1 here. As Castle, are you gonna break the top lane pact? It's supposed to be only top laners club up here, buddy. I don't know what you think you're doing up there.
Castle and Damon haven't really found too much connection. Of course, Damon isn't exactly going for the damage build carry that he's known for at this point. That is gonna go to the Neela and the Morta instead. That Cataclysm is going to be the most effective tool that Damon is going to be offering. Meanwhile, poor Castle just hasn't found the right fight to be able to jump in, get a solid kick going, or just farm all the damage that Lee Sin is able to. And so neither of these junglers have really hit their full potential, but it's because it's for very different reasons. Damon, because he doesn't need to, and Castle, because he hasn't yet. Ambition Black, I don't know exactly what they're going to hunt down next. This next dragon is coming in 110 seconds. This lane phase is, coming to an end. Most, if not all, of the T1s are just about destroyed, if not damaged. And, I mean, there is, to an extent, a difference on every single lane for these players at the moment, despite the gold gap.
The second item does come through for Mark Boots, which is really going to help the Talia a lot. Rylai's is online. The next dragon going to be spawning onto the map in about 90 seconds here. And I wonder, these top laners with no TP may be forced into making early rotations just like we saw last time. Meanwhile, I'm seeing a Balmy Cinder for All for One's Vayne, and I normally don't talk a whole lot about itemization on here, but this is clearly the name of the game. Like, all these players know we are trying to survive for as long as we can. Even if we're inting, right, Tenric, like you've been saying,
exactly.
Even if they're inting, the Balmy Cinder is enough for All for One to maybe get that extra little bit of survivability that, honestly, Stratus don't really need, because they have the Taric. They have Windtraining's ultimate, right?
Yeah, that Taric ult is going to be basically all that Stratus need for sustainability. They'll have that head start in basically every fight they take, including potentially this one. If they have the vision on Mark Boots, though, they won't. Okay, well, now they have vision on Mark Boots, I suppose. But Vision Stratus, I mean, their decision-making has been really impeccable this game so far. They've known exactly what fights to take and what fights to, not actually engage in, and up until either of those points, they're able to kind of just take whatever space they need to, get whatever waves they need to, and sort of just box out Ambition Black, which again is exactly what they wanted to do. It's a 5v5 now in this fight. It's just about to start. It looks like Black is trying to bait out the Terracol.
Oh, Stratus may be the one zoned off away from the rest of their team. This time around is Black find the shutdown onto Daemons immediately. The Lee Sin's not slowing down anytime soon here as a huge ultimate from Turk is going to lead Stratus into a big fight. But look at the Neela, look at Buff ADC trying to pop off, but there is no chance for Stratus here. It is a blackout fight. From Team Ambition Black, they get 3 kills.
So close as Turk is that wink link, and so farming kills onto that Renata would be super important, but there is too much damage to isolate at this point for Ambition Black, especially if you're stuck in that 4v5, but there was no choice. The Terracol was about to expire, and Castle was trying to hop in on that fight, and now you can spread your resources so evenly if you're Ambition Black. You can keep 2 on this dragon, engage in the 2v2, especially since Jingle is already about to go down. Sam and Mark Boots, all they have to do is box out like they were before and they're safe, and meanwhile this Baron is nothing short of easy for Ambition Black. Both big dogs are gonna go their way, and all of a sudden everything is coming up Black.
Bada bing, bada boom, baby. Team Ambition Black take an amazing fight around the dragon. And Tenric, I don't know for you, but for me it looked like watching a little bit of deja vu as Stratus made the mistake that they capitalized Black for making on the last dragon fight.
Damon was
my goodness,
completely alone for those crucial couple seconds, and all you need is that to be fully ganked by people as fast as Ambition Black's champions are. And at the center of it all, again, all for one. It's Ambition Black's job at this point to basically stall out this game until All for One has a ridiculous amount of damage. That's kind of the object at this point, I think.
Oh my goodness.
Just let All for One run rampant here.
This is I think a very pure form of League of Legends where we have game specific adaptations coming through. Draft is interesting. Daemon's looking for an engage. They seem to have caught out All for One, but look at the big ultimate coming through. Oh my goodness. It's Jinquill trying to turn this one around. Watch All for One as the shutdown comes through. Team Ambition Black lose their hyper carry as they're going to look to disengage from the fight. So many resources just for a drop of blood.
They tried to isolate him, and they did succeed, but it took a lot from Stratus. Look at Damon, so low, and did have to use that Cataclysm, but we're getting to the point where ultimates are going to be coming out every single fight, and so Ambition Stratus, they're going to take what they can get while they can get it, especially while these Baron pushes are still coming through, because they have enough on their plate to worry about. Ambition Black, they still have a pretty solid advantage under their hands right now, as they're going to have this respawn and still a solid presence in that mid lane, along with a whole lot of damage coming their way regardless. That Ambition Stratus can't really contest, but that was a really solid fight. Well, not really a fight, I guess a skirmish that Stratus was able to steal away. Now they got to worry about this T3 that Ambition Black has made their way to the doorstep of Castle.
Oh my goodness!
All front and center, and Damon hasn't backed yet. This is still a team fighting on bare nothing.
Look at this, the Death Realm used in the bot lane as BMD welcomes the challenge, welcomes the Realm of Death, as he's going to find a pull and a big old dunk there. Shut down onto Jinquill. The arena is BMD's as Team Ambition Black are opening up the base.
What was that hit? I mean, that was half of Jingle's health in one shot.
That's a lot of AD on a level 16 Darius. Look at All for One now coming in to finish off this game, and ace for Team Ambition Black as Nexus turret number 1 falls. Nexus number 2, see ya later. There goes the Nexus as TAV take game 1.
And we've seen this happen over and over in the UAL, where things look so even or questionable, and then a team on one singular objective is able to run rampant through the rift. And well, Ambition Black, they destroyed that idea. Okay, thank you, Hyper. But no, they needed 2 objectives for that. They got the Baron, they got their Drake, and then they made a beeline down mid lane as well. But actually, I think the real fulcrum wasn't even from Team Ambition Black. It was the Realm of Death, Mac. It was the Mortal ult that baited out everybody from both sides and let Sam run rampant on the rest of the squadron after he was able to avoid all that util coming from his fellow top laner. He's able to find all that opening damage, and then from then on,
Yep.
it was back to mid lane for the rest of Ambition Black. They could take care of every turret they needed to with the minions that were still juiced up on Baron, and they were able to take care of the rest of things with a couple seconds to spare. Less than half an hour in, the reigning champions take game 1.
And not only did we see Shelly with some gains as well, the minions were double pumping a little bit. They had the Hole Breaker plus Baron buff, so it was brutal for Spencer there, trying to 1v1 BMD's Darius as after Baron buff. It was just hard to watch a little bit, but regardless, Team Ambition Black with the Vayne counter pick into the Neela from Stratus. That was a really fun game to watch, as it was the dragon fights as well. Not only was it Team Ambition Black's super Baron power play to wipe the game just completely out of reach from Stratus, but it was the execution around setting up for those fights, and very rarely do I feel like I see positioning matter as much as in these really high level games where even it's one person getting a little bit caught out of position, and just that was enough for TAB to capitalize.
It was Team Ambition Black that proved that Neela can fall, but the final question that needs to be asked, can gods bleed? Team Ambition Stratus have one more game to try and dethrone Team Ambition Black. When we return, game number 2. Don't go anywhere.
Hello and welcome back everyone to the Unified live stream. Thank you guys so much for sticking with us as we continue on our coverage of this winners semifinal matchup here in the UAL. It's Team Ambition Black facing off against Team Ambition Stratus. The former champions Team Ambition Black took game one with a super Baron power play, wiping the base off of Stratus's side of the map in quick succession. We're looking forward to game number 2. My name's Mac Dewey. Still with me in the booth for the rest of this series is my main man, Tenric. What are you looking for in game 2 draft?
I'm looking for the same kind of thing we saw in game 1. No set singular carry. I really like this kind of back and forth where everybody kind of had their moment in the spotlight, especially Team Ambition Black. All 5 members had their time as a big player at some point during that game, and I think that rang true for Stratus to an extent. I want to see that kind of thing happen again. Dipping all your resources into one player when you're going up against a team that knows you as well as your own organization's counterpart team does, feel like that might be a bad idea. I do want to see different play styles though, because in the beginning it was sort of unclear as to what these teams both wanted. Stratus wanted to invade, Black wanted this space, but instead it was Black invading and Stratus spacing. So I don't really understand how these teams are trying to get their play styles under control, but I think they need to immediately, because that snowball that Black was rolling only goes so far. They gotta find a new one here. I will say, the one thing I absolutely know is gonna happen is Seraphine is getting banned first round as we head to the ban picks.
The nerfs can't save her from the ban list. Still super strong in the current metas. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be hopping straight into draft for game number 2. Team Ambition Black this time on the blue side. So it'll be interesting. We saw in the last draft, Stratus felt Mila was so strong they picked her blue 1. I wonder if Black have any champions they kind of consider to be at that level as well. Also pretty cool, Spencer may be going to be able to get a counter pick in the top lane with red 5.
We also saw that Stratus was able to find that dragon a lot easier, and that was partially because being on the blue side was a little more beneficial to getting that extra bit of space than just moving right into the river. I think Black is going to try and adopt that same mindset where, in particular, the bot lane is where you need to watch them the most in the first 5 minutes, and then the jungle and mid lane is where you need to watch them the next 10, then the top lane is where you need to watch them the last 5 minutes of the game, and by that point, hopefully, Team Ambition Black has won. So, the question is, where do you go first? Well, the answer is certainly not banning towards the bot lane, as Urgot is once again Team Ambition Black's first Nyx.
Spencer once again losing a signature champion as Lilia also pops up again. Castle not going to be getting his hands on the Bambi Deer, and I wonder, for Stratus, do they make any major adjustments? Because a lot of what Team Ambition Black picked was in kind of response to what Stratus kind of had developing. So Black, the champions, super flexible champion pools, they're going to be the ones that have to set the tone with the first pick of the draft.
I think that if anything, Stratus bans Lee Sin. I think that's going to be the biggest thing. While Castle didn't do the most damage out of his team, while he didn't have the most influence, it was clear that he had the potential to if that last push didn't happen to be the last push. That flash kick is such a powerful contribution to every fight that Black engages in, and while there weren't many fights that last game, it could very well go the same way. That being said, Castle also has a Viego up his sleeve, and I wouldn't be surprised if he just counterpicks that the second that Stratus picks out the Lee Sin, so it really is a question of what are you willing to be responded to with when you make these bans, and so far, they're the same 4 that we've been seeing in the first round. Urgot, Senna, and Lilia Olaf, clearly trying to counter very different sides of the exact same coin, and Poppy is still going to be the final ban for Black, so no changes on that side for round 1.
Imagine just showing this draft blankly to, like, someone who's used to League, and they're like, why are these the bans? But some of these players here in the UAL, they've got their signature stuff here, and in the winners semis final matchup, really, both of these teams think it's best to try to get everyone off of their comfort, see what they have up their sleeve. As Talia is an adaptation from Stratus, they're going to be taking away Mark Boots' mid laner, as on the red side, they didn't ban away the Seraphine! Tenric, you told me! You liar! You said it was gonna be banned!
I cursed it, I'm sorry! Instead we have to see Seraphine in the Summoner's Rift. This is gonna be exciting, I think, depending on where exactly this Seraphine goes, which, I mean, right now I think is still just about anywhere. So this is probably the best pick we could have seen so far. Team Ambition Black is gonna have the time of their life because they can counterpick literally anything they want at any point in time. Stratus saying, okay, bet, we'll also pick up one of our aces in the holes and get that J4 out the get-go. Damon ran wild with those Cataclysms in game 1, and he's gonna do the exact same here.
Yes, he did. And Tenric, what I loved to see was how, I mean, hey, doing the math, I think this checks out. Flash cooldown about 5 minutes. Cataclysm on about a 60-second cooldown. Cataclysm someone. They're not gonna, and they flash out one time. Just hit them with the Cataclysm again in the future a little bit, and hey, it may work out, and it did several times. So really solid pick here for the Stratus jungler as Varus picked up for Stratus. Hyper's, I wonder if Hyper's doing a little happy dance but behind the screen here for us, because Varus was a champion. He was telling me before, he was like, hey, Mac, this is a champ to watch. It's low-key kind of strong right now.
Yeah, Varus is, I think Varus has always had his definite perks, just because, again, attack damage from this champion is so effing ridiculous when it comes to late game. I mean, the stacking you could do on this guy is absolutely ridiculous. And with a pocket the whole time, get the hell out of here. Meanwhile, Castle is going to actually pick up that Viego sans Lee Sin ban, so I'm a bit surprised by that. Followed up by the Silas, which Stratus also neglected in their ban in favor of Talia.
Mark Boots says thank you. He's going to be getting that. And honestly, this puts Mark Boots in a fantastic position, because Yetsu on this Varus is not going to really be able to have a lot of mobility, and getting stuck in a Cataclysm with a Silas on the enemy team seems like a worst case scenario for your ADC.
It's very interesting watching these first bans. It feels like this would be what we saw on both sides if, like, there were no bans for either of these teams. Feels like we're reverting back out of the preemptive strikes that these teams were going for. As Vex is going to get picked up. I jingle here for the last round, and back off to bans we go. So Seraphine's off the table. Junglers are off the table for bans, which is very different. Darius, though, is not off the table, as BMD went sicko mode on that last game on the Darius, and the tail end of that Noxian Guillotine does a heaping helping of damage by the time the timer hits about 20 minutes, and so a Darius ban, I think, is very well warranted and very understandable, especially for that second round, because Stratus also understood that for Ambition Black, there may be bigger fish to fry than the top lane at the moment.
Yeah, and right now, Spencer going to lose a big comfort pick there. The Mordekaiser also gets put on the chopping block, as Tenric, I suspect both of these teams might continue trying to limit the top lane champion pool. Spencer on Stratus right now set up for a red 5 counter pick, as honestly, I'll say it. Hey, support not as valuable to counter pick as top lane in most cases here, so that's what my gut's telling me. They're going to save that red 5 pick for Spencer up in the top lane. I wonder, though, is Black going to ban away the set, or do they have something in store for when he picks set?
It's got to be a top ban at the very least. It has to be a top ban that'll get you the most value when it comes to picking in this final round here. But no, oh my goodness, they're actually going to go for the Renata. That's so interesting.
Set available
as
for
Turk
Spencer.
was on the Renata at first. Yes, set is openly available right now. I'm wondering if they're just going to grab him now.
And then everyone just start laughing at Mac for thinking, why would these guys red 5 support? I mean, it's a thing, but you know what? Alistar recently buffed is looking like it's going to be the pick. As maybe it's not. Hyper hasn't been known to play games with my mind, so I have to be careful about reading too much into draft shenanigans. But Braum is going to be the definite pick for Stratus here, as they do save that final pick for whatever Spencer has maybe up his sleeve. The Aatrox recently adjusted in this most recent patch, but I still think really strong champion. The BMD is just going to lock that in.
BMD has been a monster on Aatrox and ranked for a long time now, one of the go-tos for him, so I'm not surprised that despite the most recent patch, goes for that immediately, following that up with the potential Karma pick. At least that's the hover at the moment. Oh, that's going to be a really fun bot lane, dude. Seraphine Karma, dude, I can't wait. Oh no, it's Pyke instead! It's Pyke instead! Wow!
There we go!
Pyke, wow!
That's exciting. Oh my goodness.
You had to, man, you had to make some effort to say that, man.
I know, I really did. But I think it will be at least, Turk's maybe gonna roam around, maybe gonna land some hooks. It is the set, though, that comes through. So there we go. Matt gets something right in the draft here. Spencer gonna be locking in the mob boss up in the top lane. Spencer's had some crazy games this season on set. So with Stratus, with their back up against the wall here on the winner's side of the bracket, one more loss, Tenric. They're getting sent down into losers, getting their top lane stud on one of his comfort picks here. I feel like it's a pretty big win for them in this draft.
No, I think both sides are pretty content with their draft picks so far. They're both a little all over the place, but you can see the structure that's leading into them. Ambition Stratus, they have the J4 as well as the Braum to just kind of until everybody has the right damage, in particular that Varus and the set. Meanwhile, Ambition Black, they just have full-on in-your-face damage coming through the entire time. They are going to play on presence and presence alone, and these team fights are going to be the most ridiculous things you've ever seen. However, no matter what, we will have to look at the bot lane first. It won't mean we have to like it, but bot lane is going to be what you want to watch for the first 5 to 10 minutes here. It has the most potential damage brewing both from the Varus as well as the Seraphine, and actually to an extent the Pyke, although he doesn't really do the damage, he just does the... But the swing, the bottom lane is what you're going to have to watch at first, then we'll head up to the middle lane and see how the Sylas Vex matchup plays out, then we'll wait for the junglers to invade one end while both BMD and Spencer kind of farm until 11. But, it's gonna be the same early pace that we saw in game number 1. The question is, once again, who is going to make that first decision? Who is going to engage first? And all the signs point towards Team Ambition Black, which is why I'm gonna say right now, Mac, I think Ambition Stratus is going to engage first at 12 minutes.
Calling it right now, you see it. Little crystal ball action, you know, you've got maybe a second dragon fight. Once again, Stratus gonna be there first with a quick rotation. I wonder if maybe this time around, Tenric will see some teleports on the top side of the map, like Mac's good old-fashioned top lane action.
Roasting sauce
on Aatrox, that'd be kind of lit.
That would actually. That just feels so mean. That feels even meaner than Darius, though. To run Aatrox with that? Oh goodness.
Well, Summoners, game number 2 is beginning, as I'd love to welcome you onto the Rift. Team Ambition Black this time on the blue side, Ambition Stratus on the red, as here we go. Team Ambition Black looking to push towards winners finals as they have the championship banner in their sights once again. Mark Boots looking to continue his notable domination over UAL and other similar amateur leagues.
When it comes to the UAL, Team Ambition Black is on top. Who better to knock them down a peg than their own counterparts from Team Ambition themselves? That'll result in a lot of HR meetings, but it'll also result in some really damn good League of Legends. We're seeing some pretty standard positioning a la last patch, actually, where we're seeing a lot more close quarters, a lot more river presence rather than jungle presence to start out before the lane phasing comes along, particularly on Stratus' side, which again, I understand that intimidation that you have on the Varus Braum is undeniable, and so I'm really excited to see how this lane phase sort of goes through its metamorphosis as we're already seeing some blows traded over in the top lane. My goodness.
Look at him go. Oh, that's Spencer, baby. Spencer's set in the works with Ignite, by the way, Tenric. He's looking for blood in. Hey, taking the Ignite into Aatrox, I don't blame him whatsoever.
No, I 100% agree. But we do have a good couple TPs. 3 on the side of Ambition Black, in fact, particularly Silas and Seraphine, both with that TP. That's what strikes me the most, is that ability to kind of just re-engage directly after the respawn should you die a bit early. And again, it's your, last resort type beat, but with Silas and Seraphine, these kind of slightly more fragile champions against, again, these other champions on the other side that can whip out so much more damage, so much more consistently throughout a lot of the game, especially with Seraphine's most recent nerfs. Completely understand the switch.
And we did see Daemons roam down into the bot tri-brush, but right now the Seraphine Pike lane just playing really safe and not in any position to really get ganked, so he has to kind of roam back up, start finishing up the rest of his jungle as Castle with a little bit of a tempo advantage. He's also going to go for a gank before going blue. Here we go. Stun connects. The chains from Mark Boots connected as well. Flash burned out of Jin Quill. Gets out of the gank.
Great trade, though. Oh my god. So much damage from Castle just walking in, and then you also get out the flash. I mean, Jin Quill is forced to stay right in front of that turret for the next, what, 2-3 minutes? At least until Damon comes. Yeah. At least until Damon comes into support for maybe another fight. But there's no way that Jin Quill is going to take anything right now. I mean, that is such a massive amount of presence just immediately gained by Ambition Black in the get-go, and it forces this early rotation here. Now, we were expecting this kind of thing from the Braum from win trading, but I didn't expect it this early. I guess, baiting out that flash so early has led Ambition Stratus to kind of change their plans quite early. Oh, Turk!
Oh, Turk is in the wrong neighborhood, is going to try to flash and dash out of there. See you later. Turk does not want any of that.
Wow. Had to use the flash plus the dive, too. Wild stuff to get that started, but it does reduce the likelihood of the invasion again, which gives Mark Boots all the freedom in the world to just get even better trades out here on Jin Quill. So, again, a great start here in the mid lane for Ambition Black. The bottom lane has been pretty quiet, all things considered, but that's mainly because the bot lane hasn't really been in the bot lane at all. Look at where everyone is here. All for one, Turk, buff ADC, and win trading. Only one of them currently farming creeps in the bot lane at the moment.
Bot lane is so yesterday, Tenric. Let's go everywhere else on the map and see if we can impact this mid lane. Well, it is Team Ambition Black who are coming out slightly ahead in this constant back and forth that we've seen over the course of the last few minutes. Daemon's unable to really get a solid gank off. His Spencer super low, but is thanking his lucky stars that Set's got that extra health regen.
I like this from Sam, though, recognizing that ultimate isn't there yet, so all he has to really worry about is the grit coming from Spencer, because as Aatrox, he's going to be able to farm the damage. That much is clear, but the real problem is going to be, can you survive all the damage coming your way when Spencer gets that blowback? And the answer, as Aatrox, most of the time, especially in that late game, pre-patch at the very least, is abso-friggin-lutely. His health regen,
right.
his health regen is potentially unstoppable to an extent. But now, with the slight Aatrox nerfs, we might have to switch it up a little. Sam may have to be inting a little bit less often.
Yeah, and with the wave set up in his position, he's wanting to get this pushback towards him, but it is a slow push and a slow burn up in that top lane. Daemon's caught out on the ward. BMD, aka Sam, gonna be able to simply back off as this wave coming in. Spencer, though, gets the showstopper. Here we go! Unstoppable! First blood! The Set Spencer strikes!
Great pacing. Great pacing by Spencer. Get that ultimate at the perfect time, and that showstopper coming out immediately after. That trigger discipline, almost non-existent, but it was the perfect timing coming in, and that top lane difference is already starting to show itself. I Am Sam has to recover quickly, otherwise an entire portion of the rift is lost, because Aatrox has a really hard time recovering if he doesn't start out ahead.
Oh, Mark Boots expends a lot for that trade, but Daemon's not willing to use the flush to go in there. Simply kind of lets that mid-scuffle happen as it is. Dragon is up, and here are the jungle invades that we were talking about last game. Castle, I think, misses the stun there. Daemon's going to be able to flash away, but Castle, so aggressive on this. Viego has a bit of an early lead that might translate into the first dragon going over to Team Ambition Black.
It's a good convergence to make sure that the invasion from buff ADC and win trading doesn't go according to plan, because they were so deep onto that red side for a second there in the jungle. Granted, but even so, they were about to get sandwiched before Mark Boots came in as sort of an escort really quickly, and understanding at the time, because he was slightly ahead of Jinkwall in the CS department, which now he is no longer. It gives over the Dragon, which is absolutely gigantic for Ambition Black, because again, speed would be so key for either of these compositions, and now that Ambition Black has a slightly larger amount of it, Sam is going to be more comfortable in this top lane, Mark Boots is going to be more comfortable in this mid lane, Castle is going to be insanely comfortable on the roaming game. Ambition Black, things are looking up.
They feel the need for speed, and so that Dragon definitely, Tenric, I agree, going to be helping them out. It's a pretty melee-focused team across the board on the side of Team Ambition Black, so the move speed definitely going to help kind of counter that out a little bit, as BMD, aka Sam, look at his positioning right now. Kind of caught out Damon's, but he's looking for a play onto this mid lane. Here we go, Jinkwall, the Infernal Chain's not going to drag him back. He's able to just walk out of that one.
Ambition Black have got to keep steady. They can't let go of a single advantage for a second here, and again, might involve a little bit too much patience for them to bear. Ambition Stratus, they may try to push this envelope soon. All for One does have this ultimate ready to go, but also doesn't have Turk at the moment. He's helping out in mid lane as Ambition Black. They're trying to get their priorities straight, so this gold lead can be a bit more established, and the race for CS can be a little bit more on par, as all the sixes have been developed, save for the supports, as well as Damon, who's a little bit behind in the XP department, actually. But outside of that, we are now entering the mid phase of the game, so as much as we wanted to pay attention to that bot lane, it has been quite scarce, and now our eyes have to go up to the mid lane already.
Jinkwall so low, but that shield's going to help Mark Boots, stealing the ultimate. Is he going to take the dash back in? Is he not? He's not going to go underneath the turret. And so Jinkwall able to flash on out of there. Mark Boots uses the hijack. I believe I feel like he hit Jinkwall with the Vex ultimate there, the stolen one, right?
I think so.
Oh, we got Turk making another play here. Stuns up. Damon's does not have the ultimate. Flashes out of the Cataclysm, though. Here comes Mark Boots. Not a lot of mana. Not a whole lot of problems as Castle takes up the kill. Finishes off win trading.
And there is the weakness with Braum. Boy can't move on his own. He needs the help of other champions, and if they're not ready for the fight, then neither is win trading. The Braum falling quickly and handing over Ambition Black's first kill of game number 2. Gives them a solid gold lead now, only by a little bit, but wide margin all things considered as we approach the 10-minute mark, and everybody's just about ready to take on these fights a little bit early. Sam, that damage output is nutty, and it's going to be even crazier when Castle arrives.
Castle joining the top lane island, very different from the first match, but the showstopper is gonna put a stop to all of that nonsense. Stay out of the island, Castle. This territory ain't for you, as Spencer picks up a kill in the 1v2.
That is the true power of Set, isn't it? Farming up that grit from just taking the blows and then firing away that haymaker on top of the showstopper, on top of Castle. Poor guy never saw it coming, and it forces Turk to do even more roaming than before to make sure that this is not a complete gank on the top lane. Also forces quite a few abilities to run through. All for One also on the run here. I'm telling you, this is the moment where Ambition Stratus strikes. They see their opportunity and they take it. But Mark Boots taking his opportunity as well, slaying Jinkwall in the mid lane. And while there's a difference up there, there may not be any other difference on any other portion of the map, as Sam is finally back up and running. Castle is back to his roaming game, but now Damon is ahead in the XP climb. Buff ADC and win trading have a lot more space despite the kill that the Braum took earlier on. Turk is still a little bit stuck around. Everything seemingly going the way of Ambition Black, but at the same time, everything getting put into place by Ambition Stratus just right. Both these teams are getting to their zenith at the same pace, Mac. I love it.
These are just the best matches, eh? The ones where we got two teams where their game plan is coming together really, really well here. Once again, we kind of find ourselves at a pretty even spot between both of these teams, just like the first match. In that first match, Tenric, we remember well just how much the fights around objectives really impacted the course of the game, as Damon's going to try to flash there onto Mark Boots. Can't quite get it. Mark Boots flashes away before the Cataclysm comes up. Meanwhile, Spencer set the face breaker, going to miss there onto BMD.
Trading blows back and forth. Ambition Black, they're going to need to start dipping more of the resources into the mid lane, since that is the clear gem of Ambition Black's run right now. If Mark Boots doesn't succeed, then neither does anybody else on this squad right now. And so you're going to see Castle try and stick to this road. A little more traveled. Jinkwell is going to start getting bullied, and Turk is going to start running on this fight just as Jinkwell falls.
Jinkwell caught out of position, may have dodged the chains, but the castle stun connects, and he's able to lock down the Stratus mid laner. That's going to be Rift Herald placed down into the mid lane. The second dragon of the game has spawned as well. Team Ambition Black with a whole lot of momentum going their way in the mid lane.
Top ults are both up. They're still feeling each other out. This Aatrox still doesn't have the Omnivamp he needs to contest a fight with this set, especially with the slight level gap. Spencer is going to win this 1v1 every single time, regardless of how much Sam has an edge early on. That grit is so crucial to Spencer's kit, and he's using it so impeccably.
Hey man, what can I say except I do my homework sometimes, Tenric, and sometimes it pays off 100% of the time. Let's see, Mark Boots gonna roam up. Keep a close watch on the grid. Showstopper underneath the turret. That's a hell of a haymaker. Showstopper to try to get out, but Mark Boots able, with some help of the turret, to finish off that raid boss. Meanwhile, All for One, Flash is available, going to try to get out. Dodges the ultimate in Daemon's. The Cataclysm, it feels like it hasn't really been able to come out a whole lot. As look at the castle damage, the execute doesn't really come in there, but who cares? Turk is making big plays on this Pike Castle as well. Team Ambition Black looking like a well-oiled engine, taking over in the bot lane. It is a clean 3-0 as Castle gets a double.
It's Castle at the front page of every single fight there. Beautiful stuff coming from him. Sam and Mark Boots had solid control on the top lane as well. That World Ender able to barely keep I Am Sam alive, while Mark Boots was able to farm up all the damage he needed to with the Lash. And then following that up with Castle going crazy in the bot lane as well. First catching out Damon and then using that Jarvan copy to be able to move over and find one more. Beautiful trades coming out from Ambition Black. They got the dragon, they got the kills, they got the gold, they got every single semblance of those fights. And Ambition Stratus is left with next to nothing but a chance to go back to the shop and rethink things.
Meanwhile, Castle feeling so good. He's thinking about taking that fight up against Spencer. 3-1-2 on the Viego. Actually ahead of CS on Spencer, so that's kind of funny. Castle having a crazy good Viego game as Mark Boots as well. 3-0-1 on the Silas. And Tenric, now I wonder, is the set Spencer going to be enough to try and bring Team Ambition Stratus back into this game?
I mean, I feel like at this point, Spencer has to move to a different lane. Honestly, it might be better if Spencer and maybe, I want to say Jinkwell trade lanes, but Spencer is the only one ahead of the curve right now. Jinkwell has fallen too many times, and Buff ADC has been too focused on making sure that everyone else from Ambition Black has a tough time. Spencer is meant to be the carry right now, and he can't carry yet. So my best guess would be just let top lane ride out and have Spencer play dummy support for a second, but he can't even do that. He's got to protect win trading in this minor 2v2 first.
Meanwhile, we've got with two 2v2s across the map. Who's gonna win across the board? I Am Sam getting real low. Spencer, that's a whole lot of damage, and he's gonna put a stop to all the black shenanigans going up there on that side of the map. Team Ambition Stratus coming up big as they get two on the top side. Can they make it two around the mid lane stopwatch to try and buy some time? But Mark Boots, he's on a rampage. Can he pull off the 1v2? Here's the Cataclysm. In goes win trading as the winners fight. Glacial Fissure going to connect. Oh my goodness. Mark Boots now going to try and buy some time. Dashing around. He's maybe got the heals. Oh my goodness. Mark Boots just absolutely unstoppable. One more stun is going to be enough though for Daemons to turn it around.
A cavalcade of kills, but Ambition Stratus coming away with a win, and who guessed it? It's thanks to Spencer, that showstopper. Still a ridiculous amount of damage. Sam burned away before he could really do too much, and the World Ender is not on a good enough cooldown for I Am Sam to contest this often. Ambition Black got too big for their britches one time. Maybe it'll happen again, but if it does, Ambition Stratus is going to punish even harder.
And punish they will. What a brilliant play. Tenric, we were wondering, is the set Spencer gonna be enough? And yes, we were wondering, does Spencer have to go around and try to maybe get into another lane to find the action? But turns out the action was coming his way the entire time. And that's going to kind of close the gap of this gold lead. Team Ambition Black now only 1k up. Second Rift Herald is spawning shortly, as Jinquil's got to be careful in this mid lane. And Spencer, well, the fight might be coming his way once again.
In the 1v1, I think Sam is still confident enough. I think he's still got a leg up despite the gap, the slight gap. Oh, all for one, and Damon colliding in front of this turret,
flash.
all for one. He hasn't got enough health to succeed in this. Damon is going to be all over this.
No flash, no chance. The snipe misses. Damon's on a killing spree, but I think this means a free Rift Herald for Team Ambition Black.
I think it might, especially if Mark Boots is keeping win trading out. Yeah, this is gonna give a lot over to Ambition Black again. But it's what Stratus needs. They need to start getting their kills back. They need to have the XP gap lessened so that they can actually contest objectives right now. Because if they don't, then Mark Boots is gonna farm damage. Jinkwil has no chance, especially with Castle on the trail as well. And the mid lane is completely under the control of Ambition Black. The problem is just everything else.
They may try to look to turn around this dragon fight. Dragons have more HP, and it's bought enough time for Team Ambition Black to come in and contest the objective. Damon's trying to get the objective low, but no! Turk gets the steal. Mark Boots handles the bot lane. Castle handles the jungler. Shutdown going over to Castle's Viego as Team Ambition Black get the dragon. They get the turret in mid lane, and they are up big.
Well, Mac, at least we're not having just one carry. Instead, we're having two. Castle and Mark Boots both pumping out insane amounts of damage and space by copying their opponents in very different ways. Ambition Black, they have control over the mid lane. They were able to steal the Hextech Drake. That was beautiful coming from Turk. They have all the cards yet again.
What a play there, Tenric. We talked about at the start of this series, Castle and Mark Boots, the veterans, the champs. And if you're coming for the champ, you better aim for the head. But these guys here in game number 2 are completely taking over. Mark Boots' Silas banned away in game number 1. We're seeing exactly why here in game 2.
Turns out mid lane was what we needed to watch the whole time. Mark Boots' sheer dominance on this Silas has been the highlight so far. Castle, very close behind though. One of the best jungling performances we've seen coming from Castle. And that is saying quite a bit, as he has all the room in the world. Damon and Spencer may try and collide on this, but instead they're just going to farm away this red buff. For good reason. Ambition Stratus, they have no business contesting Black right now. They need to recoup. They need to find their buffs. They need to kill the CS. They need to play catch up here. But Ambition Black, something's telling me they are not going to allow that. And Mark Boots, front and center, 1v2ing here, while the rest of Ambition Black goes for a gank of their own.
I don't think there's anything more UAL than multiple fights going on at the same time across the map. So Mark Boots there, able to use the Chain of Corruption after getting hit by the Chain of Corruption to get out of that 1v2 little tricky situation. And Team Ambition Black, they have to be so careful taking a fight around the top side of this map. There's Spencer. He's cautious. He's thinking about, does he want to go in here? The Cataclysm going to zone him away. Spencer not engaging on this fight just yet. He's waiting for the showstopper. There he goes into the backline. He's found all for one. Flashing away. The Seraphine stays alive, and Spencer getting so low, and Spencer gets taken down. He's the second to fall, as it's 2 kills going over to Team Ambition Black. Buff ADC forced to flash away. It's a double kill for Mark Boots. 8-1-2 here in winner semifinal game 2.
And you could pay attention to the amount of damage Sam is able to do, but you would be paying attention to the wrong damage. It is once again Castle and Mark Boots who are on top of the world right now. The amount of damage they do is so staggering. Ambition Stratus, all the right positioning in the world, can't compete, but their positioning was wrong there. Max Spencer was isolated too long. Wind trading was too far to the right. That was not the packed-in team that you expect when you're looking at Team Ambition Stratus. That is another Baron, and you know what happened last time the first Baron was slain, Mac?
Oh, I do. Oh my goodness, Tenric. Boy, I do. Team Ambition Black looking now with Baron buff. Last time around, they were able to just demolish the base up of one Baron buff, but this time around, Tenric, their execution maybe has to be a little different. I Am Sam are they gonna just throw this Aatrox into a side lane and try to push that in? They might throw Mark Boots into the side lane as he's headed down bot. He's certainly strong enough to handle the side lane business all on his own. Meanwhile, All For One pushing in that mid lane. Here we go. We gotta buckle up. Can Team Ambition Black, just like game number 1, finish off this game very quickly after getting Baron?
It was about 28 minutes. That was how quickly the first game ended in one fell swoop after that Baron buff. But Ambition Black, it looks like they're trying to take over more than just one lane. They're prioritizing the bot lane, which has been the most unexciting lane so far, mainly just because the bot laners were never in the bot lane. Ambition Black and Ambition Stratus clashing at all the other portions of the map here is Ambition Black are raring themselves to try and take another turret here. I Am Sam has all the room in the world on the mid lane too, but Ambition Stratus, their presence is still too much to warrant taking a fight in front of that turret.
All For One has to be really careful here, kind of separated away from the team, but Damon's not catching out the Seraphine just yet. Stun connects the ultimate. There's the Cataclysm I was expecting. All For One isn't going to be punished. Look at I Am Sam zoning away the rest of the team. Big 3-man encore. I Am Sam looking for the backline. Mark Boots is there as well. Spencer still alive. Almost finds Castle. Failed ult from Castle. No worries. Spencer trying to take down the Viego succeeds, but look at the rest of the team. This is a close fight as 3 kills apiece across the board, but Sam this time around going underneath the turret. He's got a lot of healing with the World Ender, but not going to be able to have enough damage. Spencer looking very speedy on that set. Is going to have to back away. Dragon, potentially Hextech Soul is available as Mark Boots is going to start the objective.
I love how the most dangerous thing on the Rift for the first 15 minutes was Spencer's Showstopper. Now the most threatening thing on the field is Mark Boots' Showstopper. That has been the most influential thing I've seen in any of these fights. Mark Boots' Hijack being able to just take over that prolific set ult is massive, and oh my goodness, why are they doing this? Why are they stopping in?
Spencer is going to try to turn this one around. It's not a huge haymaker. Mark Boots is dominating. Team Ambition Black with the double teleport into the bot lane are going to wipe Stratus out of this atmosphere and into the losers bracket potentially as they get the ace.
They have a little bit of time. They're going to find T2. They're going to find T3. They're going to find the inhibitor. They're going to get so much as this Baron buff depletes. And Ambition Black able to take care of the scraps of that fight. The remainder of Stratus were just trying to get in the way, but there's no way that Spencer was going to have enough bulk to deal with everything. And definitely didn't have enough time to farm up all the grit he needed. Ambition Black, though, they are not satisfied with all of this yet. They think that they want a couple more win conditions to absolutely guarantee they don't choke here. Ambition Black showing so much respect for their counterparts to make sure that they are a lock for the finals of the winners bracket.
And with Team Ambition, they do, I think, with that fight, accomplish what they were going for. Set Team Ambition Stratus down so far. There's really no shot of a comeback. Look at Castle finding the potential engage here, but can he handle both bot laners? He's going to try to ult, but look, there is Spencer. That's not where you want to go. That's a free kill going over to Stratus. Baron spawning in about 2 minutes. Well, Team Ambition Black, they have some room to play with a little bit, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely a little bit, and with these objective bounties coming in soon, too, there is definitely still a chance for Ambition Stratus to make some waves here. They have a lot of ground to catch up, for sure. Like, that much is clear. Ambition Black, they got the Hextech Soul, they have so many kills, they have a near 10k gold lead, they have bot lane fully cleared out. I mean, everything is looking their way, and I mean truly everything. But Ambition Stratus, that Baron is coming in 80 seconds, Castle is still respawning. There could be a little tidbit of a moment for Ambition Stratus to be able to maybe take an objective here, but it's going to be really tight, and Ambition Black is still definitely going to try and fight it out.
Team Ambition Black. The former champions now on the final steps, maybe. of another series to book their way. I wonder if all they care about is just seeing finals. They're like, winners finals, grand finals, we love being in finals. Regardless, we see Mark Boots and the rest of the squad grouping up in the top lane. They do have Baron coming up, so this is right where they want to be. Zone away Spencer, who doesn't have a teleport. He can't join any fights while the bot lane's pushing in.
You can tell Ambition Stratus is so walled in at this point. The way that they have to form themselves, they have maybe 2 different shapes that they can take, and they don't have much space to work within those shapes. They have to almost, compact themselves even more than they should have before the team fights were going in the opposition's favor. And it may lead to Ambition Stratus having a lot more damage than Ambition Black is prepared for, but the amount of bulk that players like Sam have and the amount of damage that players like Mark Boots and Castle have are just so much.
Mark Boots is in the backline, zoning everyone away as win trading gets picked off. All it took was a Mark Boots teleport to make it a 1v4, and here comes Team Ambition Black storming the final fight. There goes Damon's Jinqual is likely the next to fall as Mark Boots connects the ultimate, stolen, hijacks to go onto a rampage with Sam going underneath the Nexus turret. Spencer, one last big haymaker to finish off the series. Team Ambition Black, once again at the 28-minute mark, Tenric, they like being consistent, and consistent they always are, as you always gotta bet on Black. Team Ambition, the Mark Boots squad, moving on into winners finals.
Mark Boots holding on to that backline, and from then on, the rest of the damage was trivial. Cataclysm aside, there was nothing stopping Team Ambition Black from moving clearly forward. They didn't even take an inhib turret. They just moved straight into the Nexus with, you guessed it, Mark Boots at the helm. They're able to take it in a crisp 28 minutes, and Team Ambition Black, they are one step closer to UAL Championship number 4.
Oh my goodness, I can picture in the stands all the banners, Mark Boots sitting up looking to add another one for Boots. Super solid series from them as a whole. Tenric, boy oh boy, did Castle and Mark Boots deliver here when the team needed them most.
I'm telling you, man, Castle on Viego is so ridiculously dangerous, and compiled with Mark Boots also stealing from the ideas that Stratus had. It was really beautiful watching the way that they played, like chameleons almost. Of course, the highlight has to be Mark Boots reversing all of the momentum that that Set was able to gather with Stratus, and just putting the showstoppers back the other way. Definitely the biggest thing for me, no pun intended, but that was such a gigantic gate crash coming from Team Ambition Black, able to fully thwart everything that Stratus was going for. And again, Stratus always shows so much promise. Their early game was looking great, their team fights were looking consistent, their damage that they were pumping out was amazing, and that carry potential was 100% there, but it is their counterparts, the returning champions, that continue to evade any sort of competition and run away with yet another match.
First place out of the Infernal Division, moving on into the next round. If you liked what Team Ambition Stratus were serving up, do not fret. Unified fans, they aren't going anywhere. Simply sent down into the cool guys bracket as their run will be continuing on. We'll have plenty more coverage as the UAL is going to keep on trucking through the playoffs. That's going to be it for tonight's coverage here on stream. Tune in tomorrow for some UPL action. We got playoffs all across the Unified League, and the UPL has some of the best and upcoming stars here in NA. You won't want to miss the UPL playoff matchup tomorrow, and join us next week for a whole lot more exciting League of Legends action. UAL playoffs, same time, same place, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, here on the Unified live stream. I've been Mac Dewey. Thank you so much, Tenric, for holding things down for me here in the casting booth. I appreciate it, my guy. Shout out Hyper and Leanne behind the scenes for making us look so darn good here on stream. Always bet on Black, remember, guys, as a friendly reminder, on the roulette table and here on stream. That's going to do it for tonight's action. Good night, all, and I wish you guys an awesome weekend.